Gang, it's basketball season. Believe it or not, it's here, and so is the LL Basketball Roundtable. This is the first edition for the 21-22 season. My name is Mike Gross of LNP of LancasterOnline.com, and the show is brought to you by Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. Look at the collection of talent we put together for this inaugural edition.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Jeff Reinhardt, the hampered one, from our LNP media group, and John Walk, another colleague of ours, and we are joined tonight by the girls basketball coach from Manheim Township and the boys basketball coach from Manheim Township, Matt Johns, Sean Burkhart. Welcome, fellas.
Hey, thanks for having us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us on together here. Pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go. And we're just going to we're going to look ahead. These guys have been practicing. They're getting ready to play this coming weekend. It's Monday as I speak, and talk a little bit about issues around the league, and then Jeff and John and I will talk about preview the season a little bit, players to watch, teams to watch, etc. So, Jeff Reinhardt, step out of the on-deck circle and take a swing.
Leading off. Okay. For both of you guys, knock on wood, there will be no 4-week delay this season, we hope. For both of you guys, ladies team first. Sean, how's this off season and camp been different from last year with COVID and protocols and that big delay until January?
Well, I mean, obviously it's nice to be able to get in when you're used to starting, right there before Thanksgiving. But all the extra stuff like masks and all the other stuff, I think we've been doing it now for so long that it's kind of second nature. Like you don't like last year, I find myself stopping every now and then, like looking around, like, are all the water bottles spaced out properly? Do I have the curtain down? Do we have this, that, and the other thing? Like we don't have to it's outside of wearing masks in the hallways and stuff like that. Like it's pretty much status quo is what you look forward to every November, December, get back in the gym and having everybody together and, just getting ready to have a quote unquote normal season.
Matt, same thing.
Yeah, I'd say, primarily coming back to focusing on, are we boxing out? Are we cutting off gaps on dribble penetration? Are we helping? Is a welcome change for looking at, did everybody fill out the QR code? And is everybody spaced? And even down to the nuts and bolts of, contact tracing this year. There's significantly less concern about, hey, this person might have been sick for a little bit now. All 22 of our players are not able to be in school for a couple of weeks. So those types of things as less of a concern this year are very welcome. Plus, having, for me, Sean and I have been coaching a long time. It's nice to be back to having that more traditional, 11, 12, 13 days of practice before you play versus having, I think we had 3 and then we were shut down, or 3 or 4 and then we were done. And then we had 4 and then we played.
Yeah,
this is much more real.
What are you guys actually dealing? What is the mask policy? Do you have to have masks off when you're not on the floor? Or what are you dealing with there? I don't even know.
From what I've been hearing, it seems like it's going to be different at every school we go to.
Yeah, but what is it for you right now at practice?
Oh, for us, I mean, the when they're off the floor and moving through the building, the kids are supposed to have them on. We as coaches are to wear them. But, when the kids are on the floor, they don't have to worry about having a mask on their face. And, even when they're on the sideline, they're subbing in and out, they don't have to worry about putting them on. It's just, for them, it's pretty much as close to normal, quote unquote, basketball as it can be, which is really nice for them and nice for us as coaches that we don't have to worry about policing that with them.
And I think there's a greater appreciation from our administration too. Like, hey, if I have my mask on and I'm out in the middle of a court and I'm 25 feet from somebody, I can lower that. I can comfortably lower that and project to my player, project to our players and, and coach like we would normally coach. And hey, and now I'm in the huddle, my mask is up. So I think there's a lot more understanding of that. And we all know more now than we did before. But
maybe now you guys can yell again. You can start yelling again rather than before when you were doing those timeouts and it was almost like you were doing a public address thing. Now there's be enough ambient noise that you can yell a little bit, right?
Yeah, I've been able to yell without losing my voice because I haven't been yelling through a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean would never yell. Sean would never yell.
I can imagine, yeah.
When so all right, season starts Friday for the majority of teams across the league. So when for both of you guys, and Sean can take it first, and then we'll go to Matt. When do you turn your focus from okay, preseason practice, here's what we did wrong in practice, here's what we have to fix moving forward to okay, we have this opponent coming up on Friday, here's what we have to do to it. Like going from your team to let's actually prep for an opponent. When does that happen?
For me, it started today because I played a team that I know I've played a few times, and the coach does very similar things year in, year out. So it's a little easier to start prepping for a team that I really haven't seen on film or anything yet. Plus, we're fresh off a scrimmage on Saturday, so I was able to spend half tonight working on the things that we needed to correct from there, and just keep building. You know, I'm still putting new stuff in for this week, next week. You know, it's kind of neat to be back to the quote unquote normal schedule because, you know, you get that tip off and then you get a couple of games next week and you're right in the league schedule. And before you know it, it's Christmas and you've got 8 games under your belt. So it's kind of like a mini season within a season. I always look at it anyway. So yeah, I mean, what for me, it's different because like we're playing a 4:30 tip on Friday. So like things I never really think about as a varsity sport. I had girls asking me today if they were going to get out of class early from 7th period. So, you know, something for me that I need to never really think about. I need to look at tomorrow.
There you go. Matt.
Yeah, we start tomorrow. Especially with a four-day practice week this week and our first game on Friday. There's not too many instances when we hit the regular season when you get more than 3 practices to prep for somebody. So we also use today to focus on some of the deficiencies that we saw from our scrimmage on Saturday. Today was more of a focus on us day and get some good shots up and get some reps in. And then we'll start sprinkling in Allentown Central Catholic stuff tomorrow. Build towards it on Thursday. Yeah, we're first game, you know, we're not very familiar with them, but we were able to get some film from last year. You know, I think any of us as coaches know that if you've been coaching a long time, obviously you don't do all of the same things every year, but you have a lot of tendencies, you have a lot of consistencies and things that we like to do. So there'll be enough of that's the same, that we have a good idea for what we need to do on Friday night. And certainly with them bringing back to, you know, first team 4A all-state players, we know some personnel that we need to focus on.
Well, are you guys, after last year, there weren't many schools that weren't affected. It seems like everybody missed a game or multiple games. Are you cautiously optimistic? Are you skeptical? Are you hoping to get 22 in? I mean, how will, you know?
I'm not. I mean, like last year, the only other than losing the games that we lost because of the shutdown, my team was lucky enough we didn't lose any games. I mean, I lost a kid here and there for a couple of games, but we got our full schedule in once we had revamped everything over that break. And again, you know, knowing what we know now and the different precautions that we're able to take and the, you know, everything like Matt said earlier that we were able to do differently, you know, I think, you know, obviously there were some schools that were affected in the fall, but it was such a small percentage compared to what it was last year that, you know, maybe moving from outdoors to indoors might change it a little bit, but you know, maybe I'm over optimistic, but, you know, I think we're going to get it in. I really believe that. And I think that everybody knows more of how to take the proper precautions to make sure that does happen.
Yeah, I don't think you're being crazy optimistic there. I think that's, yeah. Matt?
I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, I like to say I'm a hopeful cynic. So, you know, as I look at it, you know, if you'd have asked me 3 weeks ago, I'd have been slightly more optimistic, but you know, the case numbers are up somewhat. Yeah. So it's possible you could see some districts making, without any knowledge of what other districts do, I could see some boards asking some questions about spectator numbers, not 0 to full, but just asking some questions about that if the numbers continue where they are. But I'm optimistic that the things that really impact us directly, in terms of shutting teams down or allowing teams to play is in a much better place than it was last year. Speaking as a team that was pretty dramatically impacted by those types of decisions.
I remember years ago I heard George Carl when he was coaching the Seattle Supersonics, when there were Seattle Supersonics, and I can't even remember what the question was, but he launched into this answer that began with, "The thing I hate the most about my team is." I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you, both of you guys, what do you love the most about your team? Either one of you. Sean, go ahead.
Honestly, so far they've just been excited to not have to wear the mask and worry about being shut down or not having the season start on time, and they just come every day ready to learn. Like they're attentive. They get after it when they need to, but they're also mentally in it when we need to talk. You know, we as a whole we're very young, so they know there's enough returning players to kind of have a little bit of an impact that way. But I'm just excited because I think there's a really high ceiling for our group, and so they keep coming to work every day. And as a coach, you know, it's fun.
Yeah,
Teach a ton right now. Like even the girls that were back from last year, it's 5 less games than you would normally get and 2 less weeks of practice than you would normally get. So they're still, you know, learning as well. So it's pretty cool.
I love the competitiveness within our team right now. We have a pretty big sophomore class that really competes, and so you know the experience that we have coming back at the guard spot is being pushed by that sophomore class, and everybody is being pushed to be better by their level of competitiveness, because they flat out will not allow you to succeed if you don't play hard. And if you don't play hard, they're going to win. So that's been really fun for me. There are a lot of years when you come in and your JV team, you know, takes lumps until they get to December or early January against your varsity, because they can succeed. They're just, you know, they're not used to competing against 17 and 18-year-olds, and they don't often have the confidence to compete against them. There's no fear in this sophomore group, and that's making our varsity players better. And it's also, they can look across the person who's playing them and say, if I'm not doing my job, if I'm not stepping up, this guy's ready to take something away from me. And that's when you get better, when you have competition like that, pushing each other. So that's been a lot of fun.
So after you guys drop off later, Jeff and Mike and myself will kind of get into the nuts and bolts as far as top returning players and section races and whatnot. But just kind of an overview from each of you on the girls and boys side. When you look at Section 1 and really even Section 2, since you're going to be playing crossover games there, what teams kind of stand out for you, or what teams kind of scare you, or what team do you have a target on as far as who's going to really give you a big, fight this season? Sean, go ahead.
All of them. I mean, Henfield won the league last year and has pretty much everybody back from last year's team. So, you know, they're going to be an extreme handful. Cedar Crest has a lot of key pieces back from a team. You know, they were finding their way with a new coach last year, so they got all that time under their belt with him. Penn Manor has everybody but one kid back from last year's team, and they're ready to go, and they're very senior heavy, and those kids know what to expect. And McCaskey, they just go out and play, so they spoil things every night in our league. So, and you know, and we are too. We have a young group that's itching to play and itching to get after it. So, like, Section 1 for us this year, I think, is going to be insane. And then Section 2, I think, you know, it's kind of the same thing. You know, E-Town, Ephrata returns almost everybody. E-Town has a great backcourt. CV's young, but I know that they've been working from talking to coaches, and they're going to play a lot of spoiler roles in Section 2. And, you know, Warwick's the same thing. And Lebanon has probably one of the best guards in the league as a freshman.
Yeah, we're hearing all about that kid. Yeah.
They sent a group over to our 3v3 tournament a few weeks ago, and she was one of them, and they won the thing. So, I mean, there's no gimme games in Section 1-2 crossovers, and for the boys, I know that's always the case, but I know for the girls, for a few years there were a few down teams, and those teams have come right back. The coaches that are in our two sections, not to say that sections 3, 4, 5 aren't, but Section 1 and 2 I think is going to be a real battle this year compared to some of the years that we've had in the past.
Yeah, I think obviously the Section 1 wars are going to be back again, and I think that I think a lot of us are in a similar situation. We know we have 3-ish returning players for almost every team, with the exception of Penn Manor. But Penn Manor had a really deep team. They were very deep last year. They had a very good JV team. So although he lost a few players, he has a lot coming back and a lot that can really impact a game. And Larry gets more out of any team than I think anybody in the LL boys side. He's phenomenal. So, we all know that we have, 3 impact players coming back. But the season was so short last year, and you didn't really have all of those non-league games where we're really building up a library of films on each other and watching each other play. Last year was maybe 1 or 2 games, and then you're playing somebody. In previous years, you might be able to see 2, 3 games over the course of a year, and then you're up to 4 or 5 by the end. And you felt like you had a really good feel for each of these teams and where their depth was. Right now, we pretty much know that, Hempfield has 3 really good guys coming back. They have a guard, they have a big, they have a wing shooter. McCaskey has a guard, they have a wing, they have a big coming back. Cedar Crest, their JV team was tough. And, I know they had a down year last year, but Tom's not going to allow them to be unsuccessful and uncompetitive. He won't allow it. And Larry's going to do what Larry does, which is be a thorn in everybody's side and upset teams towards the end of the year. And I think Section 2 is the same. That Warwick has Tate coming back and other guards and wings that were impact players. E-Town has a phenomenal 5 to 6 man rotation.
Wow. Oh, we lost Matt.
Did we lose Matt? All right.
He'll be back.
I'll finish what he's saying there as far as E-Town goes. They got a strong core. Lebanon was the defending league champ last year, but they lost a couple guys to graduation. Then one of their top players to injury. And CV, we'll get into it, as a couple of returning pieces and a really good transfer coming in, but we'll talk about that a little bit further on. Jeff or Mike, go ahead. Matt's
Sean.
back.
Yep, I see him. Sean, Gianna Smith, go. Playing good, healthy.
She's in the gym with us every day, doing what she's allowed to do.
Okay. Are you hoping to have her?
She goes to the doctor tomorrow. I don't know anything other than that at this point.
Okay. Yeah, she's a talent. She's one of the.
She would definitely help us when she's able to come back. That's for sure.
Okay. Here's what I'm curious about for both of you guys. It's a silly question, but for my money, and a lot of people's money, your facility is the best in the county, if not the league. Getting to coach in that gym every day, the facilities you have, you guys are spoiled. I mean, it's an awesome facility. Do you think about that at all? And how special is that place? And how cool is it to get to be in that gym every day, Matt?
Sometimes you forget about it a little bit, but then you have teams that come in that haven't been here before or haven't been here in a long time. Had a couple teams come in for the scrimmage on Saturday that hadn't been here a while, and they came in just looking around. I know Allentown Central Catholic gets to play in a lot of, they got to play in a lot of amazing places last year on a state run. I'm sure some of their guys are going to come in and they're going to look around. They're going to be, down on the court level and looking up and seeing a ring of people up around them. So, I love the fact that we get to highlight this place. I love the fact that we get to have championships here. Sean and I have both won a championship here, and that was an amazing experience. I've also had amazing experiences watching 2 other teams in here, just because it just so much passion and love for the sport that was in this gym.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes have to remind myself that too. Like it's great. It sometimes is a downfall to have that big, huge arena. Like after school, we have after school practices in the indoor track team, or football workouts are going up on the track, and it's like I got to yell even louder to just talk to the kids that are on the court. But No, like Matt just said, besides our own games that we got to play in there, like just going in there, and honestly, one of my favorite things is when we're not playing and being able to go watch the guys play in there, because it just the electricity that you can feel in the air that's in the arena, like it doesn't matter who's playing, like it's you just get that feeling of excitement being at a game and being in a place like that. And I used to feel that way going to Hempfield, still do when you go to Hempfield. It's just a little different, but I think it is one of those things that we've been in there for so long now. Like I was looking in the AD office the other day, saw a picture from the first tip when the arena first opened, and I was like, wow, it's really been that long already that's been out. But yeah, it's a great facility to be a part of. To be able to have that at our fingertips every day is definitely makes our jobs a lot easier.
Nice. I've been in there a bajillion times for basketball and volleyball, but every time I go in, I still get goosebumps. It's just a really cool experience to go watch and cover games in there. So anyway,
it's almost the only negative of it is there are so many options with what to do. If you're in most standard gyms, like, all right, I got 6 rims or I got 8 rims. That's what I got. And here you got 14 rims. You got short courts, you got long courts, you got 2 cross courts, you got 6 courts that have 3-point lines. It's almost like, what do I really want to work on today? And so the options are almost limitless. But at times you're like, well, I don't want them to get bored. I don't want to do too many different things. What are we going to do with them today?
It was great during the COVID workouts when we had to keep everybody separated. You could pretty much have a player per basket for gyms and everything.
I bet.
Makes sense. Guys, I want to ask you something. This is just because I'm going to write about this at some point this year, and I'm not suggesting that this is about to happen, but it's being talked about a little bit. Shot clock in high school basketball. Yay or nay for either one of you?
Let's do it. Bring it on. We play fast anyway. I can tell you right now, there might be some teams that we play are not going to like it, and they're going to have to adjust. Let's do it.
I have mixed feelings on it. I mean, I think for the boys' side, it's more of a plus. I think for us, I think the girls' game we try to speed things up, and as the girls get more athletic and stronger and quicker and do catch up to what the boys' game looks like, I do think that there are certain teams that it would be a great thing to have it. Like I've seen it on the AAU circuit, like at the higher levels, they play with the shot clock, and those girls are ready to play at that level, and they're able to make decisions at the speeds that they need to. But I'm afraid at the high school level, right, like at the lower levels, not like your upper tier mid, D1 level athletes. For the girls, I'm just afraid that it's just going to force even worse shots than are already being taken, and you're going to see less points scored, and just I don't know. I'm afraid it could ugly up the game.
Well, there's no reason they can't have it in boys and not in girls, right? I mean, they probably would.
Equity.
They probably would.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, but there's no sense.
I just look at it. I mean, they have different level shot clocks when you go from the NBA all the way down to college and the international game. There's different play clocks when you're dealing with football, when you go from NFL to high school. Maybe our shot clock is a little longer, but there's no reason for anybody in the fans or me on the bench to watch a 1:15 possession of nobody looking to shoot.
Agreed.
Yeah,
there's no reason for that. And I can attest that happens.
Yeah, my only gripe would be I don't think the quarters are long enough to have a clock. I mean, till you do the tip and get the ball over half court and get down and get set up, there's already like 7:50 left in the quarter. If you want to jack it to like a 10-minute quarter, all right, well then have a shot clock. But 8 minutes,
Yeah, I mean, as reporters, it makes our night easier when, hey, 2 minutes right off the clock. It's not start, stop. But then again, there was a pair of Lancaster Catholic Columbia games last year where Columbia has the ball with 1:30 left, and they wind down the clock and take a shot and miss, and we go to overtime. So it's like, what was that for? So we could be here all night talking about this.
Let's play basketball. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Play shot clock and let's play basketball. Make plays, not stand with the ball.
Brian?
last question for you guys. LL League is turning 50. Well, I guess in the fall it already did. We're going to the 50th season of LL League basketball this winter. I don't know. Is there, looking back on the history, is there anything special with you guys, or what kind of sets the LL League apart from other conferences across the state, in your opinion? I'll let you guys take that however you want.
I think for me personally, and I can say this because I have felt this way upon winning some of the games that we have won. I feel like our league, more so than some of the other leagues in the area, it's almost more meaningful to win a league championship than it is to get out to a district or a state level. Not that Park City is necessarily what Park City used to be, but like if you won a league title and you went into Park City wearing your league championship hoodie or jacket or whatever you had,
Nice.
people stopped and looked at you and you're like, oh, that's that kid that, I mean, I think back when I was in high school, like we'd see the guys from Lebanon or the guys from McCaskey, those good teams that were back then when I was in school, like, those were the guys we wanted to be. So like, you didn't know who Central Dolphin was living in. I went to Manheim Central. I mean, we knew who Hempfield was. We knew who McCaskey was. We didn't think about teams from the other areas like that. So, and I think it's that true, and I think like what Matt said earlier about the buzz that we get in the arena for the league title games. Like I've been to league championship games for other sports. It's not even close to being the same in some of the other leagues and some of the other areas around here, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't want to value a league championship. You only have a handful of opportunities to win championships in any given year. If you're putting, all of your hopes on a district and a state title, you're going to have a lot of teams that end up disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
We value winning section titles.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 year I assisted at Donegal, that had been their first section title in I think 20 to 25 years. That should be celebrated and that should be valued. So I love the way that the teams in our league value success in the league, because these are the teams and the kids that you grow up with and the people that you grow up with. So you should value beating them respectfully. And then one of the things I think is really special about our league, with only a handful of exceptions, and this is either my 24th or 25th year as an assistant or a head in this league, there's a tremendous amount of respect amongst the coaches and the staffs for each other in this league. Tremendous amount. And when there's somebody who that doesn't exist for, it doesn't exist amongst almost all. So, we respect each other. We compete against each other. I don't think you see nearly as many other leagues with coaches where our coaches are talking to each other before a JV game. Yeah. And we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy competing against each other, and we can smile and shake hands, win or lose afterwards. Not always happy about it, but a tremendous amount of respect for what the other person did. And I don't think you can say that in a lot of leagues, and certainly not in every league. It's
amazing how important it is around here to win section championships and league championships. I'm glad both of you guys mentioned that, because that's such a huge deal around here. It's impressive.
Okay, guys, we're hooping in a couple of days here.
Yeah.
We're all psyched. We're all fired up. Thanks for being with us, guys. Sean Burkhardt, Matt Johns, Manheim Township. They'll get underway on Friday. We appreciate them spending some time talking about it with us here tonight. Thanks, guys.
Good luck, guys.
Go ahead and hit the leave button. We appreciate having you. Good
Thanks
luck
for having us.
See you guys. Good luck.
Peace out.
Cool.
All right.
Township.
All right. Now I'm starting to really taste it. It's coming, baby. The hoops is coming.
It is.
The hoops is coming.
Yeah.
All right.
Both those guys are great to deal with, by the way. They're awesome. I mean,
And hey, while we have them, we might as well mention their games coming up here, because I failed to do that. Township has a tip-off tournament, but technically they lost a team, so it's 3 teams. So Township's playing over 3 days. They're playing Friday against Allentown Central Catholic. As I'm trying to, I'm sorry, they play 2 games, but so then there's a game Saturday at Township. I believe between Allentown Central Catholic and Central York. And then Monday, Township comes back home and they play Central York on Monday night. How about for the girls?
Okay. It's just off the top of my head.
Sorry.
They're playing Governor Mifflin I think in the Red Lion tournament, and Mifflin's always good. Mifflin is. Did they win Berks last year? They might have got to the Berks final last year. They're always good. And then Red Lion is in the other game, and I forget who they play off the top of my head. I'm still semi-football mode. But yeah, they play a good Mifflin team on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Red Lion, they host both a boys and girls tournament because their tip-off times and their consolation championship times are just all over the map as far as Friday and Saturday go. So I understand that. Yeah, so sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's good. Let's do a little bit of an overview. I'll ask each of you guys because you've been immersed in previews for the season, team by team previews, and kind of looking at section races and stuff. And I have a couple things that I want to say, but I'll leave it to the beat writers here to sort of give us an overview. Rhines, go ahead. Girls hoops in the LL this year in 500 words or less.
No, that's impossible. That's impossible. Okay. 5 sections real quick. Favorites. Hempfield in section 1, as Sean mentioned. Hempfield's got everybody back. They lose Jess Weinold, who was really good. But Moffitt, Edmond, Cook, Axe, Bear, Mattis. I mean, everybody's back. And
didn't they lose in the first round of districts?
They lost to Harrisburg in the first round. They beat Catholic in that great OT game to win the league on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
They turn around, then they lost like Monday night to Harrisburg, which was kind of a surprise.
So that's gotta sting a little bit. That's gotta still stick in their craw a little bit. Yeah.
I would think, and they should be plenty motivated. And look out for Hempfield. Section 2, I think it's Ephrata. They have a ton back, including Jasmine Griffin, the lefty, and she's fantastic. Point guard, runs the show, can shoot it, get to the rim. She'll shoot 1 million free throws this winter. She'll lead the league in foul shots, without a doubt.
James Harden.
Yeah, she's fantastic, and a junior, and she'll be a 1,000-point kid, knock on wood, assuming she stays healthy. E-Town should also be good. Raybold's back. Love Morris is back. I think Ephrata, though, is going to be your favorite. They have a lot of good kids back, led by Griffin, who's fantastic. Section 3, I think, will be the most wide open of the races. Cocalico was such a great story last year with Hannah Custer, who was fabulous. I think she was on the show like 9 times last year.
She had her own segment.
She had her own segment, the Hannah Custer segment, and I hope she's doing well at Richmond. I'm quite sure she is. They lost a lot. Kirsten Shipton's back, a great shooter, but they're going to have 4 other new starters. I think Manheim Central will be there. Maddie Nyer Jr., 784 career points. She might be the only kid to get to 1,000 in LL this year for girls. There's only 2 other kids who have 600 points.
Wow.
So Nyer's going to get it. She needs 226, so she'll get that easily. She averaged 21 a game last year. And I think LS is a team that can get back in this and win Section 3. They have 4 starters back. Hostetter, Davler, Rank, Wisniewski, Swore. I think LS is going to be good, and they're going to be back in the race. Section 4, hello, Lancaster Catholic. Good grief. They have everybody back. They lose Zwally and Wentz, who were good players. Bolesky, Zaletta, Johnson, Card, Lipson, Kraft. They have everybody back. And if they weren't already going to be good, they picked up Lily Lehman, another sophomore, who was a first-team All-Star as a freshman at Lancaster Mennonite last year, averaged 11 points a game, hit 23s, dynamite player. She transferred to Lancaster Catholic. So Detz is going to have like 4 sophomores, 3 sophomores, and 2 seniors in his starting lineup, with another sophomore or 2 coming off the bench. Catholic is going to be scary.
They're always very good. They're a long time power.
Yes.
But it seems like we're entering a time period here now where they could really be extraordinary, even by their standards.
Yes, agreed. Because they're so young. They are so young and talented. And I think they'll be super motivated because they lose the LL final and they get to districts. They lose the final to DeLone, and then there was no states because of the protocols. So they they would have been in states last year, but didn't get to go because of COVID. They're scary. So section favorite, I'm going to put the league favorite tag on them now. They will play DeLone Catholic on January 8th at the West York Showcase. So they're going to get a crack at the loan in January before they could get them later. Keep an eye on that. Catholic is going to be fantastic. Section 5, I think it's Columbia. Everybody else is kind of retooling in that section. Mennonite lost a whole lot. They were the defending champs. Remind me, I want to come back to Section 5 then. Columbia should be really good. The Draghi twins, Bree and Brooke are back. Burke is back. Bigler's back.
Sophomores, by the way. The twins are sophomores.
Margie's daughters. And I mean, they're unreal players, and they're going to be great. They should be the section favorite there. And Columbia also picked up a transfer from Mennonite. A lot of kids kind of left Mennonite. They had a coaching change, and some kids transferred. Kaylee Soto.
They entered the portal.
Yes, they did. They entered the high school portal. And Kaylee Soto, who's a nice player, and she's only a sophomore. She's at Columbia now. So real quick about Section 5. 4 new coaches in the league, and all of them are in Section 5, which is kind of crazy. You'll remember some of these names. How about Devon Pinkard, former McCaskey standout?
I love him.
He's coaching Lancaster Country Day.
Played at the University of Delaware.
And University of Delaware. Tiaja Pena used to be Tiaja Myers, 1,000-point scorer at McCaskey. She's now coaching Mennonite. Wee Sanchez, John, both you guys know him. He was Lebanon Catholic's boys coach, brother of Carlos, former Lebanon girls coach. He's coaching Anvil. And Scott Whiteside, third coach in as many years at Octorara. So Octorara is trying to kind of figure it out here still. 4th year in the LL and their 3rd different coach since they've been in. So, but 4 new coaches, all in Section 5. So should be fun. I'll piggyback what Sean said. And what Brian McLeod, the McCaskey coach in the preseason, said, hey, let's play 22. I just hope we get 22 games in and everything's normal. It's great to see tip-off tournaments and holiday tournaments. Fingers crossed. I think it's depending where you're at on going into a gym and watching a game. We're not sure who's going to be wearing masks, who's not going to be wearing masks. Do I have to wear a mask? Do the kids have to wear a mask? How many people can come in the gym? I don't know how we're going to.
It's going to vary from school to school.
It's going to vary, it looks like. So be ready for anything.
Vary greatly from school to school as they get to, and that's as it should be.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep a mask in my car because I'm not going to know because I'm
Well,
going to be teams the first week.
We can talk about that on the backside because I have all that information readily available, ready to go.
John, we're free-forming it here. This is like jazz. This is FM, baby.
I'm looking around for a hat to tip to Mr. Jeff Reinhardt because he's looking at the camera the whole time he's talking about that. So all that information is just straight off the top of your dome. So good on you for already knowing all that stuff. Mine's going to be off my notes just because I want to be accurate here. So Section 1, like Matt John said, Hempfield Township, McCaskey, Penn Manor, they all have really nice pieces back. Hempfield Township, McCaskey has 2 or 3 starters back a piece with some new guys around them, kind of assuming larger roles, whereas Penn Manor loses their top 2 scorers, but they have a lot of nice returning pieces back. Cedar Crest down year last year, but a young squad, and Tommy's not going to let them fail there. So I like Hempfield Township, McCaskey are going to battle it out in Section 1. Section 2, in my mind, probably comes down again to Lebanon and Warwick. Yeah, Lebanon's the defending league champion. They lost a lot of players to graduation, including one of the tallest players in the league in Isaiah Rodriguez, and they had a really couple nice returning pieces coming back, and then one was lost to injury over the offseason. So still, Coach Spiro
lost a transfer, by the way.
Yeah, and still Coach Spiro is confident in this group, kind of assuming new roles and taking on those expectations. Warwick, one of the best players, and Tate Landis, the point guard, your college commit. He's going to score a ton of points this year, by the way. And then Conestoga Valley and Elizabethtown, I should throw in there. CV had a couple nice returning players, and then they get a transfer into March Salisbury, who was a Class 1A All-State player at La Academia last year, who was the District 3 1A champs, by the way. And then E-Town has a really nice returning core back. And remember this name, Matt Gilhole. His older brother is Patrick, who's a senior at E-Town, but Matt's a sophomore and is already getting sniffs at D2 and D1 looks anyway. So apparently he's on the up and up. And that's year 2, by the way, under CV, E-Town, and Ephrata, year 2 of coaches. So they're all looking to take the next step, whereas Lebanon and Warwick kind of new pieces there, but they kind of know what to expect. So I don't know. I think Section 2 is kind of going to be really competitive, wide open. I'm not sure who to pin there just yet. Section 3, Lampeter Strasburg. I'll put the tag on them right now as the best team in the entire league, let alone Section 3. They return. They return pretty much everybody, including sophomore point guard Ty Burton, who, if you remember last year, was a freshman point guard, Class 5A All-State as a freshman. And he's going to, again, score a ton of points this year and has a really nice core, I should say, kind of returning around him. But then again, you don't count out teams like Manheim Central because Charlie Fisher is going to coach those guys up and they'll put up a fight. Cocalico lost pretty much everybody from last year's District 3 5A championship team. Augie Gerhardt, who was 6'9", transferred out, is now playing at a prep school. So again, that's going to be a defensive-minded team, just like Manheim Central Cocalico will be. But I like LS in Section 3. Section 4, let's see. Okay, Lancaster Catholic. They pretty much lose their top 3 or 4 players to graduation. But you and I, Mike, have sat at Lancaster Catholic games and said, oh, look at that nice young player coming off the bench and put up a couple nice threes. So he has, Coach Joe Clazos has 3 really good players who
that dude is, as long as they have him.
Yeah. And they last year had like a guy, like 3 guys who are either number 5 or number 6, 7 coming off the bench who are now, okay, you guys are the new core and you're going to step up. So this could be the chance. Section 4, wiggle room. Could somebody else step up? I've said that in years prior, and Lancaster Catholic is back on top again. So
Joe Clay ain't graduating anytime soon.
Right. So every year now I just learn, okay, it's the Crusaders section. Somebody has to take it from them. Who might that be? Possibly Elko. Brad Connors, 10th year, 11th year at Elko, says this is the tallest team that he's had in his time with the Raiders.
Size. That's right.
They do lose
teams that has
they do lose Braden Bohannon, so it's like, okay, who's going to take over the scoring for them? But if they can figure out that, watch out. Octorara lost some nice pieces, but then again, the younger Hamilton, trying to remember, Elijah was only a sophomore last year and put up a ton of points. So I expect him to kind of take that next step. Northern Lebanon's always going to put up a fight, and Donegal, who knows what they have yet. They do have one of the top players, at least scores, in Khalil Mazden coming back, a first-team All-Star last year. So moving on to Section 5, I'm expecting Lancaster Country Day, Lancaster Mennonite, and Columbia to all be right there neck and neck with each other. Country Day has one of the most experienced rosters in the league, led by Grant Landis, who's one of the top scorers. Mennonite has arguably one of the top players in the league in Camden Hurst, who was an all-state 2A selection last year, helped lead that team to the District 3 2A title. And then Columbia, we know Robert Footman Jr. Is a senior, Carrie Glover is a senior, and that team went toe-to-toe with Lancaster Catholic for both the section crown and the District 3 3A crown last year.
In the league playoffs
I am curious to see too Braylon Miller, who I think is a sophomore. If he can kind of take a next step. He averaged a couple points last season, but we all know who his dad was. And apparently he has a lot of talent, just like his dad did. So they have a nice core there. Columbia does, is what I mean to say. So that's my boys overview in a nutshell for you.
A couple of random things. Let's just get these out there. This will be the last season of the Section 5 stuff. They'll go back to 4 sections next year. So this is the last year of 5. Yay. Zach, God bless you. Gutsy for doing it. I'm glad they tried it. Why not? But they'll go back to 4 next year.
I can think of a few reasons why not.
Well, I applaud him. I applauded him from the start for even just suggesting it, let alone getting it passed. So anyway, last year of 5 sections. So we'll go back to 4 next year. We do not know what the league playoff bracket will look like yet. Remember last year it was just section champs. I don't know if they're going to let the runners up go, and we'll have a full bracket with like the play-in game and the quarterfinal games and all that. Hopefully they go back to a full bracket. I don't know when that's going to be decided. I have no idea. Everything could change in a month. Who knows? And then on the girls' side, at least next year at this time, Lyndon Hall comes in. The Lions. They will be joining the league as a associate member. And they will come in, and they're really good. Back to back District 3 2A champ. And they're loaded again this year. They can make it 4 district titles in a row, playing a crazy independent schedule. But they'll come into Section 4 next year and should be really good. And Linden Hall will be good again this year. So everything kind of changes next year. 4 sections and all that, and Linden Hall jumping in on the girls' side. But we'll let you guys know right away when we see the playoff brackets this year.
A couple things that I'm thinking about as I head into this season. One is there's so many players last year, and this is I'm more familiar with the boys, but I think it's somewhat true with the girls too. Is sophomores and freshmen who were stars last year.
Yeah.
Pena of Hempfield, Jonathan Bird, McCaskey, Damaj Salisbury entering the league now, Ty Burton, Grube from Central, Camden Hurst, All-State, I mean, and on and on. I'll be interested to see how many of those kids make the leap, because these are kids that play basketball. Most of them, they play basketball 12 months a year. They're AAU guys. They're skills coaches. Are these guys going to make the leap? We know how critical the junior year is for recruiting. Some of these guys have got to get bigger and stronger. Some of them have, other areas of development. That's something that I'm really interested to see. There's a lot of them. Another thing is there were so many teams, especially in the boys' side, who had freshman-dominated JV teams last year. Good JV teams that were very young. I think the young players in the league last year are one of the things. And then the other thing is the one team in our league that I am certain, based on what they did last year, based on what they have coming back, there's a reason to believe this could be the year, especially in the postseason. To me, that's Columbia. I think Columbia has a chance to play for a long time. And a lot of athletes, some young guys, they're going to play freshmen, some of those wide receivers play hoops. That's a team that I think bears watching. But anyway, that's sort of what I'm looking forward to heading in.
That's another player. I know Carrie Glover is a senior, but that's another player. I'm wondering, okay, is he going to take the next step and be
that's
top-notch guy too?
That's right.
Like a Camden Hurst is.
He's been sort of like a really advanced, almost finished product as a player since he was a sophomore. Coach's son, point guard. But he's another reason to believe in Columbia, because he's the quarterback. Anyway, Ryan, you were about to say.
I was going to say, speaking of the youngsters, just to throw a couple of names out, I mentioned the Lancaster Catholic sophomores. Valesky, Lipson, Kraft, Lehman.
Yeah, they're really good. Those are kids.
I mean, you got 3 more years of them. Yep. 3 more years of them. I mean, and they're all really nice players. The Lebanon kid, let's get her name out there. Kyla Correa is her name. Little whirling dervish point guard type.
She is already a social media phenomenon.
She is, and thank you for the follow on Twitter, there, Miss Correa. But she's, I mean, the AAU circuit and the huddle film and everything. And Jamie Walburn, their coach, has been telling me about her for like 2 years. And her older sister was Gianni Correa, 1,200 point scorer for Lebanon, really nice player, graduated last year. But Jamie's always kind of nudged me, hey, wait till you see her sister. Oh, she's going to be great. And this kid, from all indications, is going to be dynamite. So I'm anxious to see Miss Correa. And I think next week I'm going to see Lebanon. I want to see her early on while I can. So I think I'm going to make the trip there to watch her live and in person. So she will be a name to remember this year. And the 2 names, I think, more than not anybody, but 2 names you got to know are Maddie Nyer at Manheim Central and Jasmine Griffin at Ephrata. They are phenomenal juniors who are poised to have really, really big seasons.
All right, John, let's talk a little bit about the mask, COVID restriction, or lack thereof situation. What do we know?
Break it down, John.
Yeah, so the one consistent thing across the board is that student athletes and referees who are on the court, on the mat, masks are optional. So that's one consistent thing across the board that we do know, which that was the main driving point last year. There was a couple schools this time last year that was like, masks have to be on for everybody. A couple other schools were like, absolutely not. So then, the schools that wanted masks didn't want to play at the schools who didn't want to have the mask. So thankfully, this school year, that's not going to be an issue. or at least this season, I should say, as far as masks being optional across the board for student athletes on the court or mat, and same goes for referees. Now, beyond that, whether it be for coaches, whether it be for spectators, whether it be for student athletes on the bench, if you ask, is mask required or mask optional? It's all over the board. I've spoken to, so we're recording this Monday night. I've spoken to, I think, 19 athletic directors across the league. A couple of those asked me to call them back in a day or two because, again, this is fluid. They're all still kind of making up their minds as far as administrations go. But the places where this is the easier thing, I've been wondering, how do I talk about this? The easier way to go about this, where masks are optional for spectators. Now, if it's optional for spectators, they're optional for everybody else. The places where that's happening: Elko, Garden Spot, Pequay Valley, Cocalico, Northern Lebanon, Solanco. If I didn't name your school, that means masks are required.
Wow.
That's a good way to do it, yeah.
Right. Now, if you ask me, okay, what about student athletes on the bench? Who's going to social distance? Who's not going to? It's all across the board. I'll keep you here all night as far as that goes. So, and some schools like a McCaskey are on the record saying, hey, if a spectator is in there and they're not wearing their mask, I will. The athletic director, John Mitchell, said I will stop a game and make sure that spectator leaves the venue if they don't comply with the order. Other ADs have told me off the record, look, here's the rule. Masks are encouraged and required, but I'm not going to be the mask police. I have enough to do as a regular game staff as it is. So take what you will from that. So the important thing is at least those on the court or on the mat, masks are optional, so we don't have to worry about that. But I would just say, as a rule of thumb, if you're going to be going to a basketball game this season, just take a mask with you. Some places require it, some places don't. I'm going to have a story on that later in the week. And then to add a caveat onto the back of that, so we're recording this Monday night. On Wednesday, December the 8th, the state Supreme Court will discuss this matter and will say, okay, what you're doing now, that stands. Or they could say, masks are optional for everybody. And everything I just talked about is pretty much out the door.
Well, they're ruling on Governor Wolf's appeal of the rejection by a previous court ruling of his mask mandate in schools, correct?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So that's basically.
Now, how about, John, any limits on how many people are going to be allowed in the gym?
Not from what I've heard. I did forget.
I didn't think so.
No, I did forget to mention. I don't want to throw my opinion in there, but Lancaster Country Day. When I talked to athletic director Zach Kraft about there, he said, "Look, we don't listen to politics. We listen to health policies." And with that in mind, Lancaster Country Day, one of two options for their student athletes. You can either get vaccinated, and if you don't get vaccinated, they will require their student athletes to test negative twice a week. And through those two prongs, that's why they feel comfortable saying, okay, our student athletes on the quarter mat are basically masks are optional, is what I should say. So I was like, okay, well, what about the visiting teams then? Because, they don't go to Lancaster Country Day. Masks are optional for visiting teams. So they feel comfortable with their measures in place that their student athletes will be okay, either getting vaccinated or testing positive twice a week.
So other schools are not doing vaccination or testing requirements.
No, Lancaster Catholic is not. I'm not sure of Lancaster Mennonite. That's a school that the AD Marvin Sanders said, "Can you call me back Wednesday of this week?" Because they're still crafting a policy.
Yeah. Hey, another piece of this is, in some cases, school board personnel is changing as a result of last month's election. Yeah. I mean, it is, of course, it's all over the place.
And there's even things like a McCaskey scrimmaged at a school that was not McCaskey over the weekend. And from what I heard, all the McCaskey players and coaches were masked the whole time, even though the school that they were playing at said masks were optional. So it sounds like, and if you know anything about School District of Lancaster and how they've been handling this whole situation for the last 18 months, they're leaning very far the one way to keep their kids safe. So that'll probably be a common theme for them moving forward.
Yeah, I will say that.
Hopefully I can kind of summarize all that to make sense for you guys.
If McCaskey says you got to have a mask on to come into our gym, do it, because Mitchell's not going to take any guff. Trust me.
Right.
Yeah, he won't. And neither will Roger at Cocalico. If Cocalico says put a mask on, because I've seen Roger stop games.
Sure. And some bigger schools are able to do that because they have the game stuff. Whereas I feel bad for the smaller, 1A schools that say, okay, we have these rules in place, but do we have enough staff to actually enforce? You know what I mean? So
yeah. Last question I have. February, whatever the date is, I don't know, 20th, late February. Who's cutting down the nets? Who's cutting down the boys' nets at Township in the LL final? Will Lebanon defend, or will there be a new champ for both you guys?
I think Lebanon is going to struggle because of what they lost. I think LS is in the picture. I would think if anybody from Section 1, Hempfield makes the most sense to me, although I agree with what we've been saying here. I think that section is going to be very competitive. And I like Columbia. I will. It's tough to see a school from Section 5 winning the league title. The small schools have not won many overall league titles, but I'm going to say, what the hey, I'm going to take the Crimson Tide.
John, who wins it?
Lampeter Strasburg.
Going
up against either, like Mike said, Columbia or a team from Section 1 or 2.
As Matt said, Hempfield has, they lost some key pieces, but they were good at the end of the year, and they have a point guard, they have a shooter, and they have a big.
And Danny Walk gets the most out of his
They really have a coach. So
yeah. I don't bet against Danny very often.
Yep.
No, I would take him, and I will take Catholic girls to reclaim the title, and I think Hempfield would be my next best bet to get there because they have so much back and they're the champs. But it wouldn't surprise me at all, depending how the brackets fall. It would not stun me at all if Catholic plays Hempfield again. And I think Catholic is just going to have a little too much defensively. They're not going to have a lot of size, but man, they're going to defend and get transition breakaway layups all night. I'll go with the Crusaders as of December 6th.
Okay, folks, we start hooping in just a couple of days. We're looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah.
This has been the LL Basketball Roundtable, brought to you by Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. Thanks to them.
For
continuing to sponsor our coverage of local sports. Absolutely. I'm sure they're getting tremendous benefit from it, you would think, but thanks to them for doing it. He is Jeff Reinhardt. That other dude is John Walk. I'm Mike Gross. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next week. Over and out.